It's time for the check-in presented by Allstate. The Colts, they had a valiant comeback. They lost to the Jaguars. Bill's beloved Jacksonville Jaguars, who won their first game in months. But I need to ask you, how do you explain Joe Flacco? This man is 8 days older than Anthony Richardson's mom. He was on the couch for most of last year. He led the Browns to the playoffs. Now he's on the Indianapolis Colts. He logged the fastest top speed of his career, running 18.76 miles per hour. He threw over 300 yards passing through the air, had 3 touchdown passes, and he looks like a top half of the league starting quarterback. How is that possible?
So, I mean, it's funny where last year, you have to remember how the season ended for Joe Flacco. So we know that he's capable of reaching. I mean, it's kind of been his career. It's like he's capable of reaching these heights. He had a stretch in the playoffs where he did it and won a Super Bowl, but he's also capable of having bad games. But I think the combination of understanding that about Joe Flacco and also accepting that he is not anyone's quarterback of the future. It's like, yeah, I think there probably are some quarterbacks. You hear Cam Newton talking about himself all the time. Like, there are some quarterbacks who probably could perform better.
I need to say one thing really quickly.
Okay.
If we're going to use the phrase, remember how last year ended, I want you to remember that on any Dak Prescott topic we do moving forward.
Okay.
What about
I will
carry on.
I will never
remember how last year ended.
We have Karen Foxworth on one side of the show, and on the other side we have make sure you save that energy for Dak Prescott guy. Wow.
What is required of me is to fill in the space that's needed. When you go too far in one way, you're like, Dak needs to be out of the league. You're like, hey,
I never
relax.
said that.
When you go the other way, and you're like, they should bench Dak. He's terrible. Now you go the other way, like, hey, Joe Flacco should be starting for every team in the league. And I'm like, all right, well, let's remember that he's Joe Flacco.
I said Anthony Richardson was the future of the sport, and Josh Dobbs was the top half of the league starter. Trust me, my credibility is not there on this. You don't need to defend.
Anyway, I think that's the point. It's like Joe Flacco is too old for anybody to believe that they can coach the bad Joe out of him. And he's still, like, he's smart. Arm talent is still there. He can pick a defense apart every now and then.
Jaguars defense is terrible. Like, that's a big part of this, right? Like I understand that we want to celebrate Joe Flacco. I also want to celebrate Joe Flacco. But, like, this defense is awful. And that is a big reason why Joe Flacco was able to play so well in this game. There's a lot of Sam Darnold in this conversation to me, right?
Yeah.
Like we saw last year in that Browns playoff game, Joe Flacco, it did not end well. And that was because they got behind early. They were playing a quarterback who was on fire for the entire game. Yeah. And Joe Flacco had to keep up, and it did not go well. He pushed the football, led to interceptions. That's the weakness with Joe Flacco is if you force him into passing situations, he's going to turn the ball over. That was not the case in this game. It was close the entire time. I think the Colts led for part of it. Jacksonville led by it was a back and forth game. Both sides had leads at different points. And when Joe Flacco's in that kind of game against the bad defense, he's going to be fine. This team has good receivers. We don't see them because Anthony Richardson throws the ball like 8 times a game, but like they have playmakers. They didn't have Jonathan Taylor, and I think that hurt them. But Joe Flacco absolutely has this in his locker. He also has a 4 interception game in his locker. And if he plays for another 6 weeks, we're going to see that game probably at least once over that 6-week span.
I'm going through teams now.
Oh, boy.
That could use Joe Flacco?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to list them?
I don't, actually, but I think you're going to anyway.
No. There's just double-digit teams he can start for.
All right, rattle them off. See if I can find a disagreement.
Dolphins, Patriots, Browns.
Patriots are just dumb.
Titans.
Yeah. Patriots are just dumb.
Broncos.
Not today.
Raiders. Giants.
Not today.
Panthers.
No, give me Sam. Give me Sam.
You mean the Dalton, you mean?
Yeah.
And then
Andy, my bad. I'm mixing up Darnold and Dalton.
Then you get to the point where it's like, Jets? We sure?
All right. You're just trolling now. What's next?